Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever. Continuing on with our Pride Month, we are talking about one of the most influential artists of all time, and more importantly, one of the most influential Black writers of our time. We are of course talking about James Baldwin today. So James Baldwin was born in Harlem in 1924 during the Harlem Renaissance, the intellectual, social, artistic renaissance in 1920s Harlem, New York. This time period gave way to all walks of life of Black artists and writers and trendsetters in the Black community. During this point we would meet the painter Beaufort Delaney, which was proof at that time that a Black man could be an artist. Baldwin published his first piece in the National in 1947, which really showed off his prowess as a writer at the time. By the time his first collection came out, entitled Notes of a Native Son, which debuted in the mid-1950s, he had already been a celebrated artist, known especially for his literary commentary and prowess in the community. In his second novel, Giovanni's Room, it was a very controversial book because of its explicit depictions of homosexuality. Because of this, he first published the book abroad, outside of America, and although the Civil Rights Act was passed almost a decade later, white supremacy in the form of sanctioned violence, spatial segregation, and the war on drugs was still very prevalent during his lifetime. Because of this, the promise of inclusivity and equal rights for the Black community was a dream that Baldwin knew was a work in progress and probably wouldn't happen for him in the way that he dreamed it could in the future for others. Because of his socio-political interventions in his writing and in his life, especially at the intersection of his Blackness and his queerness, it made it all the more audacious for him, as he often linked the struggles of both communities in his writings that were once thought to be in opposition and still is prevalent in the Black community today, being Black men, Black women, Black transgender men and women are at higher risks of danger from the community that doesn't accept them. Because he was wary of his focus on both sides of himself, focusing on identity categories themselves rather than the systems that produced them, he also refused monikers that people foisted upon him. Much like yesterday's episode of Sylvia Rivera, Baldwin really didn't like using labels. He is famously known for hating being called gay. He said he was very impatient with the word. He is known to have said that being called gay, using the word gay, suggested that the term answered a false argument that queer people had to prove their humanity. As I said before, Giovanni's Room was one of the first written books about the depiction of homosexuality and how real and how raw it is to live it. But James Baldwin wrote many other literary works that went against the norm. He was in the army and wrote it against it. He was a main supporter of the Civil Rights Movement, where he stood up for his Black community as well as his queer community, and he's remembered as one of the greatest American authors to have ever lived. Without him, the Harlem Renaissance wouldn't have been the same. Thanks for joining me today. See you tomorrow when we talk about another rights movement that pushed our community forward. All the links are down below to follow me. Please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.